7th graders how to do this, but because of COVID, we're all learning this at the same time. So, what is an acolyte? M.
It's a helper. It's a person that helps God.
Okay, person that helps out, helps serve, yeah?
The light candles and the
Okay. What else have you noticed about acolytes, Owen? Anything? Candles? Okay, they help with baptisms. Bless you, Macy. Yeah, Brandon.
They're in white robes.
Okay, at the first service, they're in white robes. Isaac? Okay, they sit up front. So it comes from a Latin word which we're not going to worry about, but you can guess with the word light in there. It has something to do with the care of the candles. Okay, but you guys have a great sense. Okay, it is someone who assists with worship. So and if they're assisting in worship, they're also serving God, like Em started us out with. Okay, you are a part of a worship team. So who are some of the members of the worship leadership team here at Augustana on a Sunday? It'd be the acolytes. Who else?
You.
The pastors? The musicians. So at the late service, that would be the instrumentalists, the band, and the singers. How about at the first service?
The organist.
Okay, the organist or the pianist. What if there's special music or a choir? Are they a part of the leadership team?
Person who reads
The person who reads, that's a good one, Isaac. Person who reads.
usher.
Ushers. How about the people who get communion ready?
Union assistants.
Okay, well, yep, the communion assistants. So you see, it's a really big team. I remember this was some years ago, that between the 2 Sunday services, between all the leadership and all the people behind the scenes, there were like 140 people who were involved on a Sunday morning in the leadership and the serving and being a part of worship. Is that a lot of people? That's a boatload of people. Okay, so the acolytes are a part of that. So your presence is just as important as my presence. Your presence is just as important as the organist's presence. Okay, you're a part of that worship team. So if we can keep in mind what Em started us out with, that we serve God, I think that's really a key. Because if we're serving God, it's not like this is something my mom and dad are making me do. Or this is something that, some dumb idea pastor had. Okay, you're a part of serving God. I think that helps shape the way we think and the way we act and the way we participate. We're worshiping. So so if we just think about that, we're serving God, we're worshiping God, and we think about that. Remember, we just talked about repentance. If we think about that's the path we're walking on a Sunday morning, I think everything else will sort of fall in place. Okay? If it's about this or that, or we're mad, or we don't like this, we'll go one direction. If we remember that we're a part of the worship team, we're serving God. We're also serving one another. We deserve, our neighbors deserve the best, God deserves the best. Okay? So, just remember that. So, if you're up here, right now we're only going to be using one acolyte at a time. If you're not paying any attention, if Owen's thinking, I'm really tired, I think I'm just going to lay down on this pew and just catch some Z's because Pastor's sermon is really boring. Okay? What message is Owen sending the rest of the congregation? I'm picking on you, Owen. You have broad shoulders, right? Okay. It's sort of saying it's not important, right? That his participation is not important. So if you decide to close your eyes and put your head back, okay, or, I'm not going to go on and on about that, but just the way we carry ourselves is important. And you're sitting up here, so this is kind of scary, but people can see you. Not just your parents in the band. Now, if no one else is paying attention, guess who is? Well, God, yeah. that one in the back of your mind. Jill's kids could probably tell you about it. Can't believe Pastor saw me do that. I sort of see everything that goes on in the room. So, first of all, you're a worshiper. And second of all, you're a part of the worship team. So, we ask that you be here 15 minutes before the service. So our two services now are at 8:30 and 8:30 and 10:30. Okay, and I know most of you are not driving, so you're dependent on other people to get you here. So I have that in mind, everyone else does. But if you can let your folks know, it's helpful to get here, so then you can say, what's going on? Is there a baptism? Okay, how are we doing communion? What do I need to know? If you're at the early service, where's my robe? They're different sizes. You get your robe, and then you can check with what's going on. So you're all like, okay, no surprises. All right? So let's see what else here. So I think we're just going to spend some time talking about the tasks. So I told you Acolyte comes from lighting candles, actually. So we'll talk a little bit about lighting the candles. Does anybody pay attention about how we light the candles? So how do we light the candles?
I think it's like basically using a lighter, but you push the button and you just give it to the
But what order do we light them in? Go ahead, Em. What's your?
It's like the first candle by the reader, and then the one on the further side.
So the right and the left.
And then the middle.
If there's a baptism, or there are certain times of the year. Yeah, Isaac, that's a good job, Em. You had your hand up that whole time and you forgot? Okay. So, okay, this is a candle lighter. So are you when you're the acolyte? Sorry, I'm here all year. See this thing here? There's a wick in there. So this one actually needs to be replaced. But it goes in like that. So these are stored back in the sacristy. That'd be pretty funny if I couldn't get that back up. Here we go. And there's a lighter back there. And eventually we'll try to get some adults to kind of come back there because, pastors tend to be running around like crazy before the service. That's just the way it goes. So, have you noticed anything else about the way the acolytes light the candles?
There's also a bell on the back side, and that's the way to stop the candles.
To put them out. Okay. So, now you'd be coming from the sacristy back there. I'll show you. You come out and you bow. Do not hit your head, just a slight bow. As Em said, you light the right, you light the left. Okay, you come back to the center, you bow. And then this is really important. When you've done that, you pull this down, what's going to happen?
It's going to be gone.
Okay, you're going to put it out. You're going to wait a couple seconds, and then you're going to push it back up before the wax hardens. Okay? So if you pull it down and do that, the wax that was just melted goes, and then we can't get it back up. Okay? So you pull it down to extinguish it, and then you put it back up about the same amount. Okay? And then you come out here, and you're going to sit here. You get to be up close and personal to the sermon. So we'll have the acolyte sit here, and if there's nobody in these pews, I usually will make you walk back with me. And one day I may just hand you my book, and then I'm just going to go take a nap, and you can do the service, okay? It's all in that red notebook that I have. Brandon's like, I could do that. No? No? You find out that my handwriting is really hard to read. Okay. So, and what we'll do is we wait till the prelude music starts. So at the first service, it's usually a few minutes before the organ will play. At the second service, it'll often be David Howell, or maybe David Howell and Dave Swenson will start to play some instrumental music. Yes, Isaac?
What do we do if we do like you did and we don't like the other one? Or is it just better?
Oh, it looks like they need to add some oil there. Those are actually there's oil inside a PVC container. They're not wax candles. There's liquid wax in there. So that must be a little bit dry. So it should light.
So if that happens during the sermon,
There's nothing you can do. Okay. That's the altar guild. So, okay. Now, sometimes we'll light this. There's like a little diagram back on the bulletin board in that room, and it'll say this is what you need to do. Is there a baptism, like the baptismal candle, or all the wrinkles are on there? That's the main thing. Then at the end of the service, you'll go back up. You do things in reverse. Go to the center of the altar. Brandon, you can come up and do this. Brandon, come on. You grab the candle lighter. Can you do the reverse of what I did? You don't have to go up backwards. You go up frontwards and then do the reverse. So which one would you extinguish? You do a slight bow, and you do the reverse. So which did I light last? Okay, so you put the left one out, and all you're doing is starving the oxygen. You don't need to pound it. Just hold it there for a second, and then you come over. It's like a physical science experiment. Then you bow, and then you go back to the room where it was all happening. Okay, and I'll show you that when we're all done. How was that? Okay? And by then, people are thinking coffee and cookies. They're not paying that much attention to you anyway. All right? So, if there's something else going on with the candles, like the Christ candle, or if there's an Advent wreath, that's after you do the altar candles and then you light the others. And we'll go over that when we get to that, because if I tell you everything now, you'll have forgotten it. The altar candles we always light for worship. So, Logan, what order do we light the altar candles at the beginning?
Right to left.
Right to left. Macy, at the end of the service, how do we put them out?
Left to right.
Left to right. Okay. Now, how I was taught that is that left candle is the one closest to the pulpit, which makes it the gospel candle, and the gospel candle should never be lit alone. Do I mean? It should never be the only one lit. So you always, anyway, don't worry about that. That's old-fashioned. Okay. What else do acolytes help with? Communion. Okay. Now, what we're doing with communion is one with just the one acolyte. We used to have 3 acolytes. So when we have communion, at this point, the pastor is going to be doing the bread. There'll be 2 communion assistants doing the wine. And people are just dropping off their empty glasses over here.
we're going back to that.
Yeah, we did last week. Yep. Okay. So, the acolyte's job, you'll be up there. We used to call that the runner. So, the acolyte's job in communion, first of all, you'll come up with the communion assistants to be communed first. Okay? 8th graders, 7th graders, we're working on that. Okay? Pretty swiftly, you guys will be having your first communion. All right? So your job is to keep these 2 people supplied with wine. They've got a tray with little glasses of wine. So as they're running out of wine, you just keep an eye up there and you'll bring a full tray of wine down to them and take their empty tray, put it back up there. Yeah, Isaac?
Remember, it was like 3 years ago, someone dropped one of the wine.
Yep.
How long was that, 3 years ago?
We've had people drop the whole tray. Is that what you remember?
I remember a whole tray being dropped.
Yeah, we had a whole tray dropped right about here.
Oh, I see one up there too.
Yeah.
That's the thing they remember.
I dropped a tray too, but it wasn't on the carpeting. It was in the back on the tile on my shoes. So my shoes were full of wine. This is like 15, 20 minutes before people show up. And I'm back there going, okay.
And there's also white grape juice.
Right, and they're yeah, okay. So the trays on the left there will be all filled.
I know, because it's
So all you do is you just help this communion assistant, that communion assistant. When their tray runs out, you bring them a new tray, you take the empty tray and put it back on the altar. Okay? And right now the attendance is low enough that you're going to be able to keep up. You might even go up there and you're not doing a lot. You might get a chance to bring a tray or two down, but that's your job. Okay? You commune, and then you do that. And then when everybody's communed, you just have a seat. Okay? That's pretty straightforward. Now, there are a couple times of the year where in the past we've done communion a couple different ways. We'll tell you about that when we get there. Okay? Like Ash Wednesday and Monday, Thursday. Yeah.
I have a question about
Yeah.
about when are you gonna pick like something specific for the service, or you're just gonna have one of us to do it?
We'll come out with a schedule.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll probably email it out. So you'll be assigned, pardon me, and there are 5, 12. So you're gonna go about every 6 weeks. You'll have a service. So you'll get a schedule.
If we can't make it, you like.
Then you find something, you trade with somebody and let us know in the office. So the easiest way to trade is on Wednesday nights for the workshops when we're all here. Otherwise you end up making phone calls and that's kind of a, okay? And you'll get 8:30 services, you'll get 10:30 services, and you just trade to make that work. Those are good questions. Okay, communion. All right, baptism. Oh, this is really fun. Who's excited to help with baptisms? They're really fun. And you're right in the middle. Anybody seen Hamilton? Look, you know the song In the Room Where It Happens? It's a great song. In a baptism, you're right where God is acting. Okay? You're right up here next to the pastor. And we believe God works. It may just look like old Pastor Dan, but we believe God works through word and water and promise, okay, in baptisms. So let me see. I'll pick a volunteer. Logan, why don't you come up? You're going to help me with baptisms, even though you've never done it before. Okay, so when it gets time for a baptism, it's right after the sermon. We sing a song. I'll say we now celebrate, during the end of the song, I'll give Lolo the eye. And there are 3 things up there on the far right side. And I want you to go up there and bring the napkin and the brass thingy. Okay? You go up and get that, and then you're going to come and I got to think about how we're doing it now. I'll have you stand on this side. And you're going to come down and stand here. Okay? And then we'll invite the parents and the person that's being, it might be an adult, it might be a kid. We'll invite the sponsors. They come up here. Okay? See, this is you're taking the whole thing, aren't you? Okay, I don't want you to be like looking at the boys. Anyway, all right, so we go through the service when we get to the actual baptism. Okay, I'm going to put water in whose name? Is the name of the last one's the Holy Spirit. What are the first 2? In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the, okay, and then you're going to hand me that cloth. Okay, you see the embroidered shell with water? We have one of our older members who embroiders these, okay? I'll dry the person's head off, and I give that to them. As soon as you hand that to me, that's called an oil stop, and you're going to keep it during this service. But as soon as you hand me this, you unscrew the top. Can you do that? And hopefully Pastor Robin didn't tighten it too, okay? And then you're ready for the next thing, okay? Now, am I going to take that from you, or are you going to keep it? You're going to keep it, okay? If you try to hand it to me, it's going to end up on the floor. Just saying, this has happened before. So after the actual baptism, I put my hands on the person, and we pray for them, and then we mark them with the sign of the cross. And all I do is I'm going to dip my thumb in there. I don't take it, so hold on to it. And then I mark the sign of the cross. Now, as soon as I do that, guess what you can do? You can put the lid back on the oil stock. Okay? Then, at the very end of the baptism, I'll say something like, we now present you with a lit candle. Sound familiar?
Yes.
Guess we can do it now. Okay? Remember the thing that left on the altar? Okay? You go up and you put the oil stock down and you bring the candle down.
After you say it, or after you say it?
As I say, I'll say that, and then Logan will say, I got this. But then you hand it to me, and I light it, because you want to try to reach it from down there? No? Okay, I'll light it, and then I hand it to the person, if it's an adult, or I hand it to the family. And then at the end, then, we have them all turn and face the congregation, and that's the end of the baptism. And as they go back to their seat, you can go back to yours. How did Logan do? Woo! All right. We'll be preaching sermons before you know it. Okay, now we'll go over that again when you're the acolyte and you have a baptism, because it might be a little while. We have like 5 baptisms that are in the process of being scheduled. So it's really kind of fun. I'll just lead you through it.
Make sure these guys all do it.
Oh yeah.
Only you rub it out.
And then, if you're kind of giving me a bad attitude, I'll like ask you questions and hold the microphone in your All right. So, those are the main things. Do you have any questions? So you'll be getting a calendar. Be early. The first service, we wear robes. So I'll take all of you back there and I'll show you where the robes are. Talk a little bit about how we care for those robes.
How you put them on?
It's pretty easy to put on, okay? If I can figure out how to do it, it's got to be pretty simple, all right? And I'll show, I don't think it's back there, but there's a little clipboard that'll be back there, and it'll say, this is what's going on at the 8:30 service. This is what's going on the 9:30 service. There's a baptism, there's this, there's that. Okay? Do you have any questions? Yeah, Logan?
What do we wear for the baptism?
Well, it's at the 8:30 service, you would just put the robe on. If it's at the 10:30 service, we ask that you wear, you don't have to go out and buy new clothes or anything like that. If you had church clothes, like a little nicer than, what you play basketball in, fine. As long as things are clean,
Like golfing.
yeah, we'll be fine. Okay, now your parents may have another idea, but that's for you to negotiate with them. Okay, you don't have to put on a collar like I do. Fighting fleas and ticks for 30 days. Okay. I'll be here till I'm not. All right, any other questions? What do you think about being an acolyte? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being, oh no, 10 being, I'm ready to go, where are you?
I'd say like 10.
Isaac's like a
10?
9.5.
8.7.
9?
10.001.
Mason,
It's about
about a 9? Okay. You guys are ready to go. You make me excited to come to worship. Okay, do you have any other questions? Okay, when it comes to your first Sunday and first service, it's fine. We'll walk through things. It's not about being perfect. Okay, we were talking about how sometimes things go wrong. Like I literally dropped a tray of wine in my shoes. Okay, it's not about being perfect.
Were your shoes white?
No, they were black. But I mean, that's a lot of wine to have in your shoes. I only have 1 pair of shoes and 1 pair of socks here. So I was the only one in the building. I'm like, Lord, can I go home and go back to bed? Actually, it's what I really wanted to do. And I was like, no, they might miss me. Okay, yes, Em.
Well, how did it happen when you dropped the wine?
Anyway, so it's not about being perfect, but it is about remembering that we serve God and we serve others and that we're worshiping. okay? So if things don't go perfectly, that's okay, okay? And whether it's Pastor Robin or me, we want you to have a good experience. And if you have a little bit of a brain cramp, that's fine. We'll get it figured out, okay? Some of you know I can give a lot of information without even saying anything, okay? Between my eyes and my face, and you know what you're doing. Who had a question? Em.
What happens? What do we do at the end? And do we go back to do? Or
Do you know how to moonwalk?
No.
Okay, we can moonwalk. Oh, okay, we're not gonna. You're not still recording, are you? Do not send this to Bishop Current. Okay. Okay. Well, see, the last thing you'll do is put the candles out. Okay. The last thing you'll do is put the candles out, so then you'll go back into the sacristy and you'll hang up the candle lighter. If it's at the early service, you'll hang up your robe, and then you'll be done. Okay, I was kidding about the moonwalk, but it makes me think maybe I'll do that. Okay. Yes, Mason?
What is that light up there? That candle.
That is an eternal candle. So that is, you know how when we gather for confirmation, we gather around a candle? That reminds us that Christ is with us, that when we're together, Christ is with us. That's kind of the same idea, except it's the idea that God is always with us. Okay, so there's actually a big candle in there that takes 7 days to burn, and we change it once a week.
Okay, I was like, how often you light that?
It lasts a week. Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll take it back to the sacristy. We'll take a quick gander at what's going on back there, and then we'll be done.
You can leave your bags here.
Yep, leave your bags. That cork board there is where you're going to find a sheet that's got, it's going to say how many candles and how we're doing communion. If there's a baptism, it'll be on there. Okay. Oh, Jill.
Did you get that on video?
So,
you did.
you'll come back here, and then that cabinet, Jill, if you would be so kind, Vanna.
I want to be on video. Yeah.
This is where you'll find the robes. Now, you guys are all really good at geometry, or not. The robes are all different sizes, so how are you going to figure out which ones are long or short? By looking at where?
The bottom.
The bottoms, because they're hung from the same height. So, you'll notice they hang down there, and Vanna will point to them.
Have we done anything with these lately?
Nope, they've been hanging there. Okay, and they're very simple robes. Now, the ones that are on the far left that are really white, those are mine. You
Don't
wear
touch
them, you have to
these.
do my job. Okay?
There's some super long ones too, and nobody will wear those.
Yeah, those were like
So, for Jonathan Herrick.
for
Claire.
Tiny Herrick.
I want a wedding dress.
Tiny Herrick and Claire.
Okay, so you'll notice it's really simple. They don't, they're not, there's like 4 different sizes, so they're not designed to be exact fit. Now, if you think about a robe, why?
It goes up here, okay.
What are
I'm
some of
done
the
in a while.
reasons you think pastors wear robes or acolytes wear robes? What do you think might be behind that?
You guys
They
have
used to
hooks
wear
up here.
robes.
Hmm?
They used to wear robes.
Yeah, but what do you think is behind like the symbolism? Maybe. What do you think, Mason? Okay. Now, when one of the other images, there are 2 things here. One of the other images about baptism, and maybe you've noticed this, sometimes babies will be wearing a white gown. Okay? One of the images in the Bible is in baptism, we're cleansed, it's like we're white as snow. Okay? So in some sense, these robes are signs of God's power to clean us in baptism. The other thing is, if people are wearing robes, you don't play the game who's wearing the nicer clothes. You know what I mean? We're all dressed the same. We're all equal. But it's at the first service where we wear those, and then the other one comes across, and then
So this will come across.
that'll come across there. It gets caught in my hair too.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, have that.
All right.
There's one up here, and then you come across up here. And the rope is easy. You just come around. The only thing bad about the rope, it's
Yeah, you want to get your arm out of there, Logan. It makes it easier.
They're really long, so you might have to go and tighten a knot or something. Really
Or move
long.
it
I
around.
think these are shorter, these are longer, whichever, but just beware of that. Now, we'll help you. Somebody will, you've Acolyte, what's that called? Wrangle?
There you go.
Okay, and that's
We'll
it.
try and
Now,
help
if the 8:30 service you wear a robe, please make sure you get it hung back up. You're not at home where you can throw your clothes on the floor and your mom will pick them up.
Is that where all the wine is?
There is wine in there and grape juice and stuff like that.
What is
Okay.
that thing?
It's
The
a,
sound.
This is the Carillon.
Is that
So
the
in the-
actual time?
it's a Caroline.
Yeah. So when you hear the music play outside through the big bell tower, this is where it's coming from. It's digital. Okay. All right. Do you have any other questions? We've run a few minutes past. I apologize for that. You guys, you are the highest rated excitement, and you've been very attentive. And I can't wait for you guys to start acolyting. So watch for a schedule. We may email it out since next week you guys have fellowship.
How soon are you thinking?
I think we'll start a week after this.
Okay.
Maybe it's even this
We need
week.
to figure it out.
All right. I'll figure that out.